God, I clicked the go live button. Oh my goodness, y'all. We just did a whole pre-show and we're just now going live.
It was amazing, by the way.
It was wonderful.
An amazing pre-show.
It was
unlike anything you've ever seen.
Unlike it. We just,
Fortunately,
you don't get the... none of it was recorded. I hit the go button, but apparently it decided not to go. So... Anyway,
now we're going.
This is the weekly live TWIS podcast broadcast. We are going to record the show now for our weekly podcast. Woohoo! I don't know why. Things are just going well and swell and everything's happy-go-lucky for all of us. We do hope that you will subscribe, like, share, and do all the things that'll help us get in the algorithms while we are live right now. Let people know that we are live. And additionally, we hope that you subscribe to the podcast because, if you don't like this live thing, there's an edited one that goes out as a podcast after Rachel gets it from Identity 4. And then it's all great. Okay, time to start the show. Yeah?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. See, it's great because nobody had to deal with my microphone issues. We are starting the show in a total of 3, 2. This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 976, recorded on Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. Free to be sciencey. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight on the show, we will fill your head with old stuff, dead stuff, and fun-gus. But first...
Disclaimer. The future is uncertain, and the end is always near. For some people. For others, the future is a wide open world of possibilities in a seemingly endless expanse of time. What mindset you have determines what the world will look like. Feed your fears, and they will fatten, feasting on your sense of ease, even when no danger is present. Fill your brain with wisdom and knowledge, a learning mindset, and the world is a never-ending source of wonder and excitement. While sharing the world with people of different mindsets can be challenging and illuminating, keep in your mind the knowledge that no matter what the other mindsets are up to, no matter what tomorrow brings, now is always the best time for This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kiki and Blair.
And a good science to you too, Justin, Blair, and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science.
Oh, is that what this is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good, I'm in the right place.
Checking. Make sure people knew whether they were in the right room or not before class starts. Oh, we took a week off last week, but we're back again. Thank you for your patience. We do hope that you are ready for a full show of science, fun, and talk, discussion, learning, curiosity. Oh, we have tons of science news. I brought stories about dead people, old art, bird memory, dead mammoths, AI lie detectors, brain bathing, and robot faces. Justin, what did you bring?
Yeah, I can't wait to hear all your stories. That sounds awesome.
Good ones.
I have a Younger Dryas impact theory update. I got some fungus news. I got some Darth Vader spouse news, and maybe if we get to it, a Bat Lab story.
Batman Bat Lab? Like, what's
Science
Butler's name?
Bat Lab.
Oh, actual science. Okay.
Yeah, Alfred Pennyworth.
Alfred, yes.
I'm sticking with the theme.
Blair, what is in the animal corner?
Oh my goodness. What even do I have? I have some ants being wild. I have chimpanzee pharmacists, and I have lemur divas. So,
Everybody's got a job. It's great.
uh-huh.
Oh, I think I know what the
I
chimpanzee
could use one.
pharmacy story is. This could be a good one.
Share alike. I'm ready for this science knowledge. All right, everyone. If you are not yet subscribed to This Week in Science, you can find us as a live stream every Wednesday, just about at 8 p.m. Pacific time-ish on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. We are also findable as a podcast. You look for This Week in Science or TWIS, and our website is twis.org if you're interested in show notes with links to stories and other links to audio and other stuff. We try to make it easy for you. One-stop shopping if you need it. Okay. You ready for the science, though?
Let's bring it.
Okay. Science, and so much science. This week, big stories in archaeology, lots of dead people. I see dead people. Well, actually, I don't, but bones. Researchers see dead people's bones. And Justin, you've talked many times about
Dead people bones.
dead people bones. Yes. And one of the
Better than
caves.
live people bones.
One of the caves full of dead people bones that you have talked about historically as have been used by Tibetan Buddhists for thousands of years. And it was first, that's how it's basically brought to archaeologists' attention when, oh, hey, we've been meditating here for a really long time. And oh, it looks like a jawbone. What's going on there? It got passed on to a university and they went, whoa, that's not people, that's different people. And it was determined that based on a mandible bone remained, that Denisovans were a thing. It's like, oh, okay, this whole new group of archetypal human, proto-human, existed about 400,000 years ago, I believe is what they've, or
Well, the jawbone is 160,000 years.
yeah.
And
But
then
for
the Denisovan cave finger bone, I think, is pushes it back further. And then
Yeah.
the timelines. And this is always that thing that I have a contention with, because this is the one where it's like, oh, it's a relative of Neanderthal that split off, but also intermingled with humans at some point, and also every Denisovan DNA that they've acquired, they go, oh, wow, this one is a Neanderthal Denisovan hybrid. We haven't found the pure, which always makes me suspect that we are still defining the hybridness with the fact that we discovered Neanderthals first. And that
right. Which one was first?
This could be its own thing that hybridized with humans, and that's where Neanderthal human offshoot of Neanderthal. Anyway.
Yeah.
I still think this is late existing Homo erectus, but history will probably prove me wrong.
No, this particular study doesn't have any, new, ground shaking, earth shattering genetic evidence suggesting earlier ancestry of the Denisovan lineage. However, a little rib bone was detected in this cave that is above the Gangia Basin, where this Baishya karst cave is found, where these Tibetan monks like to go and meditate. There are all sorts of bones in this cave. This cave is it's been there for a very, very, very long time. And the bones in there's lots of them. There are sheep bones, horse bones, cat bones, bird bones, all sorts of bones, just lots and lots of bones, not a lot of people bones. We've found the mandible, a finger bone, and now a broken off rib bone that has given evidence that the Denisovans were in that cave maybe on a less frequent basis until about 30 to 40,000 years ago. And that's where that rib bone has been dated to.
Oh, that's very recent. I didn't really
Very,
wow.
Yeah, very recent. And it is that kind of Denisovan genetic mushiness that we're still trying to really define, that you're talking about, that the questioning of where that is. But 30 to 40,000 years ago is kind of still in line with Neanderthals being not there, but in Spain and other areas. Like there's a lot of overlap between these various subspecies, of hominin. So this is very interesting. Additionally, just that there has been a lot of evidence in the bones that they have been finding in the cave that suggests that the Denisovans and whoever else people-wise was there, they were not just scavengers. They were hunting. They were probably dragging things to the cave. There are some predators that might have found bones that maybe they found their own way to the cave, but it looks more so, the evidence on the bones looks like evidence of cutting the muscle from the bone. It looks like the bones were broken so that marrow could be removed from the interior of the bones. A lot of the evidence is just like the evidence of how you would imagine a hunting species taking advantage of all the nutrients from prey that they could, and what that would be like. So Denisovans, up to maybe 30,000 years ago in this Tibetan monk cave.
And then as far back, because of as far back in that area is 160,000 years. And what I think was interesting also about this cave is there is no evidence, as there were in the Altai cave, of Neanderthal or human use of this cave. This was all we found so far is evidence of Denisovan.
Right. There is no other genetic evidence, and where these bones were found in the stratification within the cave, that's how they've dated the bones to where they exist, and there's no other genetic artifacts from either researchers or any other hominin species. So there's just kind of this timeline of evidence, but we still haven't found a lot of Denisovan bones, which kind of still puts the question on what's really happening there. And then secondarily, another study was found, was just reported this last week on artwork found in a cave in Indonesia. It is now dated to be 51,000 years old. It is a painting of a pig on a cave wall, and it was published in Nature this last week. The researchers think that this is not just figurative artwork that is the oldest, now dated with a laser dating technology, at 51,000 years old. It's also potentially, they argue, the oldest narrative drawing, because there was not just one image of a pig with what they say are human figures around it, but also that there were two panels that potentially could have been like storybook pages or the potential telling of a multiple chapter or multiple scene story. And there are researchers who work in this field saying, hey, yes, the dating, laser dating, you did great work. Technology is awesome. Love that. Yes, figurative artwork. Yes, 51,000 years old. Great. Oldest example of human figurative artwork in caves ever found. The question is, are we interpreting too far to say that it's storytelling and narrative and anything more than just, pictures on a cave wall?
And then a slight disclaimer there, because there is older cave art depicting animals in France, for instance. But they have since determined that those were likely created by Neanderthals. Mm-hmm. So this is maybe saying that this is either the oldest laser dated, or it's saying the oldest current modern human.
Are you talking about Lascaux, Justin? Because
no,
I just looked that up, and that's only 17,000 years ago.
No, it's not.
No, there was Neanderthal. It's Spain, actually. The caves in Spain.
You're right. It's the ones in Spain. Okay,
and they're like 63,000 years old.
Right, and that was Uline uranium to thorium decay dating on the calcite that was in front of the painting. This is how they determined that it was older.
Yeah.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, and it's definitely cows. I see that.
So there's but at 51,000 years, that's still pressing very like the timeline of humans getting to Indonesia, isn't it?
That I don't know. So they used this particular laser dating technique previously in like 2019, and they had dated some art at 43,000 years old. They also suggest that the art that was created by Neanderthals at about 60,000 years ago or so, they say that that is not as figurative. There's like a hand outline and like some lines and dots, and so they're suggesting that that Neanderthal art is not figurative in nature. And so they're pushing this because it's human. That humans are better than Neanderthals. That kind of.
Yeah. Everyone really is a critic, huh?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So the question is, right, you're bringing up the big point here is there's this real big gap between when humans were in South Africa at about 100,000 years ago with the first art at 100,000 years to what's happening in this cave 50,000 years later. And then additionally, what happened with humans moving through Southeast Asia to Australia. This is probably somewhere in that timeline, but yeah, they still want to keep looking and dating because we still don't have enough information.
Yeah, and it's also I like the idea that this could be an attempt to capture the knowledge of the of a storytelling, because this is the thing that is of course lost until we have some form of written word or hieroglyph or things that are written down and passed on. There's another story that didn't bring this week, where in Australia they discovered some sticks that were immersed in fat and then used for a healing ritual. Like they would put some fat on it and set it on fire, and then the sick person would be, kind of like a candle, but then a sick person would be sort of somehow tied to this, and then it was like a healing ritual that was documented when settlers were first sort of getting to Australia in the 1800s. But the site is 12,000 years old.
Oh, wow.
So it shows that there was a cultural knowledge and tradition that word of mouth, memory passed on for 12,000 years. So, we are now in a world where we don't rely on memory at all.
That's not true. We have a lot of external.
Yeah. But to have a 12,000-year-old tradition is unheard of. Like, other than stone tools, right? We don't have a whole lot of examples of a 12,000-year-old long tradition.
So we need people
somebody at some point realized, this is probably not the best form of communication that we could possibly do, and try to put down the story on a wall. This could be the first iteration of that we have an example of.
I think that's amazing. But it just does really highlight the fact that our data storage is limited, and our human minds and our external, data stores, maybe some of those memorization techniques aren't so bad, and maybe there should be an emphasis, at least in some part in our communities, as we start focusing on sustainability of our culture and our lifetimes, and how do we create human memory stores that are passed on from generation to generation, because that's what we've done historically, but now it's so much information. Can any one person or group of people become a memory store for humanity? Anyway, Justin, you don't want to talk about art anymore. You want to talk about...
what is my first? Let's see. Maybe the younger Dryas. Maybe we'll start there. This is we're going to move over to North America. Researchers have found more evidence, maybe the best evidence, for the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. This is the idea that a fragmented comet smashed into the Earth, into the atmosphere 12,800 years ago, causing widespread climatic shifts that led to an abrupt end of the Earth's global warming at the time. We had a warming trend that we were coming out of an ice age. And this created kind of a near glacial period directly after called Younger Dryas, sort of a time point. Now, in this time point, this is also when we lost all the megafauna. We can look towards the Clovis culture in North America, which kind of just all of a sudden ended. And in Clovis culture, the people didn't necessarily end, but they had to adapt to the fact that the big game was now gone. Because Younger Dryas is thought to have caused widespread fires. There's a sort of layer of ash in the record in North America around 12,800 years ago. That sort of is the kicking off point of Younger Dryas. So we know there was massive fires, so maybe the fauna died directly from these whatever this event was, or maybe they just lost their grazing lands. But the humans had, Clovis culture was these big spear tips that could just come off. So you could throw your spear, it would go into big game, and the stick would fall out, and you could reload it. You could just add another spear tip to it and then throw it again. But that became kind of pointless if you're going after, the biggest game you're going after is rabbits, or if you're fishing, or if you're having to adjust to smaller game. That technology is useless. So that's kind of why Clovis culture disappears. But also this is the mastodons, the giant sloths, the short-faced, short-nosed bear, flat-faced bear, whatever it was, this giant North American bear. And there's been all sorts of speculation as to how this came about. What they discovered here, though, was something called shock fractured quartz. So this is James Kennett, who's emeritus professor from UC Santa Barbara, and colleagues. They're presenting the evidence of these proxies associated with a cosmic airburst. So this is the comet that comes down but doesn't make it all the way to the ground. Today, the Earth will be bombarded with tons of celestial debris. We're going to have tiny dust particles that kind of come into our atmosphere from beyond. Tons of it, but in dust, so no big whoop. On the other end of this scale of spectrum of stuff are the cataclysmic events, like the one that took out the dinosaurs, that left a 150 kilometer wide impact crater, very big whoop. And in between the no big whoop and the very big whoop, there's all these other whoops that take place between dust and extinction level impact strikes. Things that don't leave craters. There was the Tunguska event in 1908.
Didn't that leave a bit of a crater? I mean, it flattened all the trees and everything, but I thought it left a bit of a crater.
Yeah, it was 2,000 plus square kilometers, or 830 square miles of forest got flattened in directions away from where this thing came into the atmosphere and exploded. One of the things that's associated with that sort of event is you will get these lateral fractures in quartz. Quartz is a very hard material, and it's very heat resistant. But the heat that can be associated with these things can be very intense. The one that they have associated with Younger Dryas, they think could have gotten as hot as 2,000 degrees Celsius, which is really, really, really hot. Yeah. And they think it was a fractured one, which came down in lots of different segments, like a very large asteroid, but one that was kind of like remember uh, the Hayabusa mission to the asteroid Itokawa?
Hmm.
Itokawa turned out to be not like a solid asteroid, but it was like a giant gravel conglomeration. So it could have been something like that, that it was, once it hit the Earth's atmosphere, it separated into separate pieces as it came down. And so what they're discovering is there's all sorts of evidence of those sort of lateral lines that you would get in quartz across an area. But it's also, it has web shapes in other areas. And instead of being one event that looks like it happened, it looks like a bunch of events all across sort of the northeast eastern United States. So it looks like basically this theory that has been out there, this hypothesis that it was a shattered asteroid strike. The shocked quartz grains is backing that up, and they found all sorts of melted glass and these microspherical things in the ground at that same time point. It also sort of matches one of our other examples of testing this or getting evidence of what this would look like came from the Trinity atomic bomb tests in New Mexico.
Interesting.
Where
Yeah.
a 20 kiloton bomb was detonated on a 100-foot tower. So it exploded above the ground. And you see that same sort of effect on the ground below from the high heat that was caused on the ground without a crater. So more evidence suggesting that scattered asteroid strike is likely what's said about the climate change, the massive fires, and the extinction of North America's megafauna. Also pushing us into a mini glacial period there that also affected all of South America.
So they're saying this evidence is suggesting that it was one kind of big airburst kind of thing that broke apart and hit all over the place.
Yeah, and it also seems like it might have been multiple then airbursts too, like
or broke into pieces, and then maybe those different pieces burst because
because there's been a meteor strike theory for a long time. The problem is there's never been a crater, and this explains why you wouldn't get a crater from this, but you would get these other effects, and they're seeing those other effects. All the proxy data aside from one single impact site is now starting to fill in the gaps of the hypothesis.
I think that's cool. I think it's that really is the bring it home kind of point, which is we've had this idea for a really long time, but now we're starting to piece it all together. Like, why did it work in this particular way? And why did everything die? Yeah. Yay! Little melted glass balls sprinkling. It was like rain, a hot molten glass rain. Yeah, awesome. Not good at all.
Not what you want.
No, not what you want at all. And yeah, Tunguska was an airburst as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Blair, what did you want to talk about this first bit of the show?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you were being bombarded by glass rain, maybe you jump in your car and try to drive away. Well, you might have an entire colony of ants waiting in your vehicle.
No, they're in my computer.
Ants have been observed using a new method of getting around, hitchhiking in your personal car. This was an observational study, citizen science-based study, looking at social media reports from people throughout Taiwan in particular between 2017 and 2023, where 9 species of ants were observed hitchhiking on personal vehicles. So people would post that they were distressed by the fact that their vehicle had been overrun by ants. And then that post would be found by the scientist, who would then figure out what kind of ant it was and where they were. Then they'd contact the people for more information. And so 7 of the 9 species were invasive. So this is a way that invasive species are getting around. And it's not just one or two ants, it's the whole family, including their queen, moving into the car and then moving out. And so they need three main things to succeed. One, they need to be able to climb to the surface of the vehicle. Two, like if they're sitting in like water, obviously that's not gonna happen. Two, they need to be exhibiting a forage or colonizing behavior. So if they're happy at home, they're not going to do this. And then three, the temperature in the vehicle or the part of the vehicle they're in needs to be habitable for the ants, of course, right? And so those three things mean the ants can hitch a ride.
So
beware of
now, how do we design the cars so that they cannot? We need Teflon coatings so that they cannot grab on. We need we need water so that they're just drowned, so they're water vehicles. We wear
park in
scuba
puddles,
gear.
I guess. Yeah, unless they can make an ant-based bridge. Well, if you injure any ants while they're trying to hitchhike in your car, they can go ahead and perform amputations on each other. This is the other very quick ant study that I brought for my little ant segment. This is studying Florida carpenter ants. Amputation. So if an ant was injured, other ants would either perform a wound cleaning with just their mouth parts, or they would perform a cleaning and then amputate the leg with their mouth. And so it depended on the type of injury. They tested them by giving lacerations either on the femur or on their ankle, like tibia, which like they're not direct comparisons, but it works to picture where they're doing it, right? And so all the femur injuries were just cleaning, and then the femur injuries, they cut off the whole leg. But in the tibia injuries, they only got cleaned, and they were like, "You're good." So, long story short, they were able to kind of assess the damage, see how bad it was, and either perform an amputation or not based on their needs. So ants taking care of each other, pretty wild.
Yeah, like they're basically figuring out, on the go med hospital triage.
Yeah,
but it's like Borg style. No, you are done for. I don't know. You are no
and it's
longer
interesting
useful.
that exactly, that they don't just like leave them to die or eat them or anything else, or just go, what's fastest? Take the leg off regardless. No, they assessed the injury and then either took the leg off or not. So.
Which is, it's harder to heal a femur, but that's like a femur with a bone in it for a mammal, right? You get a femur break, it's like that's not nice. That takes a while to heal. It's but in ants, wow.
Well, also though, it's like, if you've got 6 legs, does it if you lose one?
Right. Yeah, good question. It definitely is going to slow you down. I think also, like, think about the ankle-like tibia of like it's a joint-based area. So maybe like you have one less segment on your leg. You can still walk on that. But if there's an injury mid-leg, gotta go.
It's like your thigh, right? That you cut it off. lose the leg. Oh my goodness. What's fascinating, so I we think about like our bones on the inside, right? And how those have the channels inside with all of the osteoclasts and osteoblasts, osteocytes, and everything that'll heal the bone, right? From the inside out. But this is an exoskeleton-based organism. Insects don't have bones. They have the chitinous exoskeleton, right? So you've got healing taking place in the muscle and the hemolymph internally that would then support the exoskeleton on the outside. But I'm just really interested in exoskeleton healing.
Yeah.
Who does? What do they have? Resin or something? But it's not like a surfboard.
You gotta wait for your next molt.
I know. It's fascinating. Just lose the leg, everybody. Or ant bodies. Justin, did you have another story you wanted to talk about?
Oh,
Not
gosh.
losing ant legs?
Yeah. So here's this is research coming out of China. There's maybe some evidence that global warming could make fungi more dangerous to humans.
Oh,
For
yeah,
some, if you
absolutely.
think about it, maybe
Mhm.
kind of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
In a survey of fungal infections in Chinese hospitals, researchers discovered a fungus not previously reported in humans, sickening 2 patients. The pathogen was already resistant to 2 of the most common antifungal drugs that were available, and when exposed to higher temperatures, it quickly developed resistance against a third. So this is part of a program looking for fungi that cause severe disease in humans. They collected samples from patients in 96 hospitals in China between 2009 and 2019. Among the thousands of fungal strains collected, one had never been documented to infect humans before, which was a yeast. It was isolated from the blood of 2 unconnected patients treated in intensive care units for severe underlying diseases that may or may not have been completely separate from this pathogen. So they wanted to test how readily the fungus can infect humans. The researchers injected it into mice that had a weakened immune system so they could give it the best possible chance. Mice, of course, did get sick, but then something unexpected happened. Some of the fungi quickly mutated into a more aggressive form. When the researchers checked why this might be happening, they found that cells cultured at 37 degrees Celsius in the lab accumulated mutations 21 times faster than cells cultured at 25 degrees Celsius. So basically the takeaway from this research where they're finding sort of more aggressive mutations in fungi with higher heat is that as the ambient earthly temperature increases, there's going to be less difference between the environment in which the fungi live and the environment in which people are.
That's a great point. Okay.
Yeah.
Making
that transition easier
for the fungus. Yeah. So the fungus will be like, hey, people, we have lots of mutations.
I already like that temperature.
That's
Let
great.
me jump in. Yeah,
Oh.
not a problem. I'm already used to it because it's been sort of like a little bit colder temperature that the fungi tend to thrive in than a human heat. The human heat sort of is one of our sort of immune systems towards fungi in a sense.
Yeah. Right. Our body temperature is one of the things that enables us to get rid of those infections. We get a fever. Yeah, it helps us get rid of those infections. But
they can't take the heat. Well, as we raise the temperature of the planet, and the fungi quickly adapt with the more heat, they adapt quicker because they got to be ready for anything because they've been around forever. They might be acclimatizing to the human interior.
Yeah,
this is a fun thought for
Everybody in the chat room is saying "Last of Us." Oh my goodness, and we've been talking about fungus and the threat to human health related to fungus for a very long time. And it is a fungal planet. Really, there's spores everywhere, all sorts of different kinds of fungi. Some that we have co-evolved with and we like to enjoy in our meals. That's others that we enjoy for fun. Others that are part of us, really. And there are others that
hang out in puddles and locker rooms.
Exactly.
They make pizza better.
I mean, there's a reason it's so hard. No. Yeah. The yeasts. We do like fermentation. It's fantastic. But what I find most interesting about this, though, is it's a unique strains of fungus that had not been identified before that were already antifungal. Like they already had genes for for that.
Yeah, and so
resistance.
one of the things that we of course also have talked about is the arms race going on in the soil at all times between bacteria and fungi and other fungi and bacteria and other bacteria, where they all are having antifungal, antibacterial countermeasures against each other, which is why we derive so many of our antimicrobials from the world of fungus. Because they're constantly fighting that battle, and we just borrow things that they've already figured out to combat bacteria infections or even other fungal infections. If they already have the countermeasure when they infect us, then the thing that we borrowed to fight them will be useless.
Yeah. Yep. They're
This
already
is how we
there.
end.
We're now,
one of the many ways.
We will adapt.
This is just how we become part fungus and reproduce via spore, right?
Yeah.
That's the next step.
Why are we so afraid of assimilating into the fungal ways? Sporulation.
It's going to be an AI fungal powered overlord hybrid thing that really takes over this planet.
Slime mold, AI.
A planet covered in slime mold that's
mushroom
and sporing,
running high technology
mushroom.
to contact other fungal planets. That's going to be the real. We are just an intermediary. We're like the car moving ants from one place to the other until they can colonize.
We think that we're like so interesting, that we are the ones that are going to like, step up into, the higher mental state, become higher universal beings. But no, we are
just
a stepping stone for the fungus and the slime molds and the computational properties of this planet. Yes. We are a stepping stone on the route to becoming whatever that becoming is. Blair, you don't look excited about that.
It's,
so concerned.
I like fungus as much as the next guy, but I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I like my mushrooms in my spaghetti, and there have been fungus species probably dining on the remains of woolly mammoths for quite some time. But what was it that really killed off the woolly mammoths? We don't know. We've always gone back and forth on, oh, humans did it. Oh, we hunted them. Oh, no, it was environmental. No. Okay, well, they ended up just, population bottlenecking and dying off themselves. And that's what did it. Or, there's all sorts of ideas about how the woolly mammoths died away. And the idea is that in Siberia, about 4,000 years ago, we lost the last woolly mammoth. And that was on Wrangel Island. This island is a cold, frozen north, and so a lot of remains have been preserved. And in fact, they've found some pretty amazing giant mammoth tusks in the soil and have been able to look at genetic information in these tusks. And so there were a bunch of species, or a bunch of individuals, not species, one species, woolly mammoth, individuals, 21. They had 21 genetic sequences that they were able to look at, determined that there was a population bottleneck at one point in time. The woolly mammoths, they were like small group, and somehow they managed to survive, but then they did okay for a really long time. And that bottleneck actually, it might have increased the percentages of the moderately harmful mutations in the genome, but it got rid of all the really bad ones, because basically it was like, okay, you have deleterious mutations, you're not going to live. Like the population bottleneck like killed everybody off except for those that could survive. So the genome of the woolly mammoths actually did really great after the bottleneck, and it was doing really, really well until whatever environmental issue froze them out or heated them out or whatever. They starved, whatever.
Younger Dryas.
Most likely,
exploded
right?
them out. Burned it out. Yeah.
Whatever it was. Yeah, but they were doing okay. And the researchers in this study actually are not just interested in this for the woolly mammoth's sake. They're interested in it because they're wondering, what is the real effect of bottlenecks on all sorts of populations that are nearly extinct? What is going to happen to them in the long run? And for those that we are possibly keeping alive in zoos and other places, we are choosing the individuals that are going to survive, as opposed to the environment being what is determining who survives and for how long, as in these woolly mammoths. The woolly mammoths actually benefited from the bottleneck in the long run. And so maybe population bottlenecks that we can help species come back from in a natural way could actually be beneficial to species in a sustainable, ongoing fashion. So thanks, woolly mammoths. And we're so glad that you were able to survive. And how do other species survive? Well, some birds like to store their food and others don't. And so the birds that do not store their food, what do they have to remember really? Are they just running around going like, tweet, 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 where's my food? And that's it? Or are they remembering stuff about where the food is, what kind of food it is, and, what time of day it is, or how long it's been since they've eaten there? How long has it been since the house where Kiki lives has put the suet out in the backyard? How long has it been? Why did we starve?
Since they let the cat out?
Exactly. So we've so far looked at species like scrub jays, black-capped chickadees, other birds that are thought of as the food storing, intelligent social species. But now they've looked at the great tit and the blue tit in Europe, and the European great tit and blue tits, they don't store food at all. They're backyard feeder birds that go, tweet, 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 give me that food, toot, 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 toot. And what do they have to remember anyway? Well, it turns out they remember everything. And young birds are actually, young birds are better at remembering certain information about when things happened, or like contextual information about what things look like better than adult birds. But overall, these are wild animals. They gave them this really cool situation with these feeder boxes and had them kind of come to the food at different times. And the birds, they eventually were like, yeah, we like the food. We'll come and get the seeds when we want to get the seeds, and we will just let the seeds do what they want in other times, and I'm going to remember what's there. And so these little automated food serving feeder boxes, I mean, it's as wild as possible, right, to have involving having a feeder. But the birds, they knew when to come. They figured it out over time. They figured out different colors and different contextual cues. And so it just tells us that a lot more species than humans are remembering more than we really gave them credit for historically. You're so shocked, right, Blair?
Oh, so shocked. They communicate via song. Don't you think they have to remember things? So, like, they have to remember where their nest is. They have to remember who are the good mates versus the bad ones. They have to remember hazards. There's a million things you have to remember to just survive as a wild animal. This is very silly.
Oh, come on. No, wild animals are just like nature's automata. I mean, come on. Humans are the only animals on this planet. No, we're not animals. We're humans.
Right.
So,
and you're the only ones who have brains.
So the 12,000-year-old tradition story that we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Even humans, I think, had better memories, longer memories. Like, I almost want to get into the realm of talking about genetic memory at some point then. Because maybe this is a skill that we, as current modern humans, have just lost. The ability not to only remember things you've learned in your youth, but to have some sort of genetic memory of things. Because you often hear about, like, what is instinct anyway? But a memory of behavior that you were born with, right?
Yep.
And so memory, long-term memory even, might be a thing that is just part of the natural world and how that exists.
It
and
totally
how,
is. It has to
and as
be.
humans who are like, I don't remember what I did on Friday, have just lost this because
But
we
you
are
do.
in this multi-informational Ferris wheel of different things popping up that we are concerning ourselves with and dismissing.
And we take
again.
things for granted.
Mhm.
We're like, we don't even think about how much memory we use at different times. Everything is memory. I'm remembering so many things right now without remembering them. Oh my gosh, it's inherent in my brain, in my life. I learned everything about how to use the computer. And I just know how to do things now, but sometimes I mess up. Oh, everybody, this is This Week in Science. Thank you for joining us for another episode. We're going to keep going with a couple more stories. Justin, I know, has one more story or two more stories to quickly run through before he goes home. But I hope that all of you who love the stories and this show will subscribe to the show, get a friend to subscribe to the show, and then head over to twis.org, click on our Patreon link, and support the show in an ongoing fashion. $10 and more per month, and you will be thanked by name at the end of the show. I'll try and pronounce your name correctly and not stumble over my own tongue. And additionally, at the twis.org website, you can click on our Zazzle link and look through some of our wonderful merchandise that helps to support the show. And a lot of it has been created by Blair, which is pretty awesome. Original art that you can wear by Blair. There's a lot of rhyming there. Coming on back, more This Week in Science. Justin, tell us about your last two stories.
Okay, so we like never talk about drugs that are in clinical trials on this show.
What?
We don't ever
try
talk
not
about
to.
drugs.
Yeah.
It's a thing
get
that's
your
like,
hopes up.
it's somebody's hyping a drug that hasn't really made it all the way through yet, so we don't talk about it. It's pointless. What would be so much fails. Like at every stage of a 3 or 4 tiered clinical study, things fall off at like 70% each time. Like it's so little that makes it through. There's so much speculation and hype at times that it's kind of a pointless endeavor. However, this time I will talk about a drug that hasn't made it all the way through. This is from researchers at the University of San Diego School of Medicine, some international collaborators on potential of tirzepatide as a effective drug therapy for obstructive sleep apnea. And the reason I'm going to talk about this is because sleep apnea is a thing that like 930 plus million people have worldwide. It's this thing where in the night you stop breathing properly, and you get this sort of, it's an obstructive sleep apnea. It's obstructed airways. People snore. They kind of wake up because they start to suffocate themselves slightly. And you just
have to wear a giant machine that makes them look like Mr. Snuffleupagus.
So the typical treatment of a sleep apnea is the continuous positive airway pressure, or CPAP machines, that answer the question every spouse of a patient ever wondered, what would it be like to share a bed with Darth Vader every night?
Oh, sure.
Yes, Amidala, you did very well by not having to get to that point in the story yourself. So the if this drug is successful, they said this is a significant milestone in the treatment of obstructive sleep apnea, offering a promising new therapeutic option that addresses both respiratory and metabolic complications, because the machines themselves can have their own complications. Small cohort so far, 469 patients that showed improvement on this drug over just the CPAP machine. Some of them got to the point where they no longer needed the machine at all. Some were using it during the study. Some were not using it on the study. Some who were using it then found that they didn't need it.
That's cool.
And the main effect really of this ailment is that you can spend 8 hours of your sleeping time, get the good night's sleep, but be completely unrested the next day.
Right,
you
because you're not breathing correctly.
didn't
not
get
getting
good
the air.
oxygen, and then you're also like coming out of your deep sleep constantly as your breathing becomes obstructed. And so then people are tired throughout the day, and they're drinking coffee, and they're trying to be awake, and they still can't get there. So if there's a drug option versus the... And there's also like been recalls on those machines in the past. Either by...
And if the masks move, or if other... there's all sorts of issues.
They can get contamination.
Power outage.
They can get contaminations, but also they found that... what was it? Some of the materials used could decay, and then you're getting microplastics or these sorts of things. All kinds of stuff can go wrong with breathing through a tube all night, believe it or not. And then
I do wonder
last
if
story.
This is 52 weeks, so that's a year, and the drug is injected, so that's not something that's super easy for everybody. But it's phase 3, double-blinded, randomized control. That's a great study. So.
Yeah.
Terzepatide. They need to change the name. Okay.
Yeah, it'll come out as like Sleepies or something, some branded. Right?
Yeah. Second story.
And then last story of the night is Colorado State University is building a facility for housing 2 bat species that are natural reservoirs for coronavirus and other viruses that could be the source of the next pandemic. It's slated to open in February 2025. But surprisingly, this high biosafety level lab at CSU is getting some controversy.
Do you think people are concerned about a bat lab?
So this is
Colorado,
funny. Post-COVID pandemic political environment, there's fueled by fear-mongering mindsets and some realistic threats about virus research. So it's causing opposition to the facility. It's one of the rare moments where the extremist points of view in America are aligned on an issue across normal political dividing lines. So we have the anti-vax, anti-government, anti-science, and anti-animal cruelty groups.
All coming together on this one.
All coming together to say, no, we don't want this.
That's not a super group I'm interested in, I have to say.
And so then you also have the people who are...
Stay in Marin, everybody. Yeah.
Who are almost advocating for the Wuhan lab leak scenario, which whether it was Wuhan or natural or a different lab than the Wuhan lab, like, it's possible. Look, containment in a virus, even in a good biofacility, is not going to be 100%.
No.
There accidents will happen. Like it's not going to be every virus. Hopefully the ones that are most dangerous are kept in such containment that it's not possible, but stuff happens.
Yep. So
I'm not even in the group that would say that the Wuhan lab leak couldn't happen. I'm just not in that group over there that's going to advocate for that as the only possibility, right? So here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
If you don't trust those foreign governments working with viruses, then you don't trust our own to have at home either. That means you just don't trust anything ever, at any point, and it's all going to it's just conspiracy-minded things. And then the goal then would be not to prepare in any way for coming pandemics. And so there's some voices whose opinions I think we should ignore. And there's also the opinions of the people who live in that community who we should listen to. But then whose community would they want it in? It's a real...
They shouldn't have told anybody. They should have said they were doing birthday cake research.
Birthday cake. It's tasty. It's got sprinkles sprinkled with COVID.
I wanted to see what the tastiest birthday cake flavor was. That's what we're doing over here. Those screeches, those are small children very excited to eat cake. That's it.
Actually, one of the solutions, if nobody wants it in their backyard, but we know we need this research,
put it on an island.
Convince one of those other countries. What if we convince China to put the lab there? Would that be a good idea?
Hold on,
That was
Justin.
what we were.
Well, no, because
Wait
we
a
don't
minute.
want to hear. I'm just saying, just between us,
Just
maybe we could convince China to have one of these viral research
An
labs,
airship.
or India,
And it's
where some of
not
these bats that
actually-
they're going to study are already at. Like, why do
You
we
gotta
have
have
to
it on a floating airship. International.
Oh, in the
airship.
atmosphere. Yeah, that'll protect us.
Oh my.
Hey, and then last question. This has nothing to do with the story, but she was mentioned. Do you think the flat earthers still call it atmosphere? Wouldn't they call it atmosphere?
Yeah.
And on that,
They
I gotta
also
go.
say around the world. Also, they think that other planets are spherical, so it's
It's all cubed Earth, cubed planets. Everybody's half right. I believe everything I read. But I gotta go because I gotta go catch a train.
Go
Love you both. See you next
catch the
week.
train. Make sure you get it round trip. Thanks for joining us. Don't go batty. I know you've made us batty. Yeah, these facilities need to be somewhere. There needs to be places for the research to take place.
Of course, yeah.
We are not yet to the end of animal research, even though labs on a chip are moving forward. Organoids are moving forward. There's always going to be the biosafety level 4 facilities, though, whether or not it's animals, plants, or cells that are in question. So, yeah, where do we put them and how does the research get done? And I think the big thing, though, is transparency, right? Like, I think one of the last, we were talking about biosafety stuff several years ago. It was like, all sorts of scientists were like, no, trust. And then it's like, oh, wait, no, there's all these reports that the CDC was sitting on about accidents at their biosafety 3 and 4 facilities. And so, yeah, it has to happen. Transparency, good procedures with redundancy, right, for protections, but there also needs to be transparency so that everybody knows whose throat to choke when
It's like a lose-lose because people don't trust science. So you want to tell them what's going on so they can understand what's going on. It's not you're hiding things. But then if you divulge too much without context, it breeds mistrust in another way. So if you're like, don't tell anybody about this bat research area, then everyone's like, you hid this. I don't trust science. But if you're like, hey,
didn't hide it.
We're testing bats to see if there could be future virus spread they're like, I don't trust you. You're creating a conspiracy. So it's a lose-lose.
Oh, no, I figured it out. Plague ship. We just have to have plague ships floating on the ocean and hope that those barges never hit land, right?
The
birds
worst
don't land on
ever.
them. Don't take that cruise. That is not one you should be taking. Oh, but you know what cruise I want to go on right now? I want to go on a special cruise led by Captain Blair to Blair's Animal Corner Island. It's time for Blair's Animal Corner, everyone. With Blair.
She loves our creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. You want to hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. There's Animal Corner.
What you got, Blair?
I have chimp pharmacists.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
All right.
So this is a study from University of Oxford in the UK. And this was all based on some behavioral studies of wild chimpanzees. They found through these behavioral observations that they were watching 51 chimpanzees from 2 habituated communities in Budongo Central Forest Reserve in Uganda. They habitually were eating plants that were nutritionally poor. They're like, why are they eating these plants that have no nutrition to them or very low nutrition? Yeah.
Like
and
herbs.
So
right?
They started to have this theory because also some of these chimps were not feeling well. They were injured or sick. Are they treating something? And so they monitored them, they recorded all these observations, and then they collected plant extracts from 13 species of trees and herbs in the reserve that they suspected the chimpanzees might be using to self-medicate. They tested them for anti-inflammatory and antibiotic properties. What do you think they found?
I think they found that there were antibacterial properties to these, or
Correct.
more than just nutritional supplements, right?
Yes. So 88% of the extracts that they tested inhibited bacterial growth. And 33% of them had anti-inflammatory properties.
What?
So
That's a lot.
the researchers believe, based on this,
Yeah.
that the chimpanzees are seeking out specific plants for medicinal effects.
So what kind of plants? What are the, are
Yeah.
there plants that we use as well? Are they in common?
Great question. So they had deadwood from a tree in the dogbane family, had the strongest antibacterial activity, and also had anti-inflammatory properties. Bark and resin from mahogany trees and leaves from ferns had anti-inflammatory effects. And so this isn't stuff we're currently using. So that's kind of the next step is, can we watch chimps and see what they use to treat themselves and figure out ways to turn that into medicine for us? So we could learn from them without it kind of just walking around and going, maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. You can watch the chimps go, oh man, he wasn't looking good and he's looking a lot better after he ate this one thing. You can test it, you can figure out what's going on, you can distill that, you can turn that into a pharmaceutical. And of course, this also emphasizes the extreme importance of protecting habitats like this, and not transplanting species away from the habitat that they were born in, keeping them in that space, because that is the space where they have some sort of knowledge of the ecosystem there that they could actually impart to us. And if that habitat disappeared, that would obviously that benefit would be gone. But also it just shows a really cool cognitive capability of the chimps, and assuming it is an intentional act. It could be something like how when you have a deficiency, you crave certain foods. It could be something that they just like, oh, I don't feel good. I really want some of that one piece of bark that's over there. I'm going to go try that out. So there could be something that's a little less intentional, like cognitively intentional about what they're doing, or it could very much be, I don't feel good, I'm gonna go over to that glade over there and forage because that's what I've done before and it's worked for me.
And I think that's what's going to be most interesting also, is determining how much of it is, like Justin was talking about, 12,000-year-old cultural, social, sociocultural heritage. How much of it is learned from generation to generation. Oh, you feel like this, eat this, right? Or is it just random? Are they just picking bark
Right.
off of things? I mean, we go to the pharmacy, right? And you have to ask a pharmacist for help, because sometimes it's like, I don't know, I feel like this, I don't know what I'm supposed to take. And the pharmacist is like, oh, well, you should take an NSAID, but you should take, because you are on this other medication, make sure, or you drink alcohol, make sure that you don't take this anti-inflammatory, you take this anti-inflammatory, right? You don't mix things. So, I mean, these are not in pharmaceutical doses, but at the same time, I do wonder, do they know not to mix grapefruit and their particular compounds? Yeah, I mean, do they know the willow bark is good for, as aspirin? Like, do they know? Like, what do they know?
Great question.
Own it.
I don't know.
Is that where did we learn it?
Yeah. Great
Blair.
question. More research is needed.
Blair, answer my questions.
I could answer it in song.
Oh, what? Okay. You get
No,
the full screen now.
Okay. No, my last story tonight is about lemurs that sing. This is the Indris lemur, the singing lemur. Indris, I'm not Indris, I assume Indris. Singing lemurs, they live in small family groups in Madagascar. They communicate using songs similar to birds and humans, but they also use rhythmic vocalizations like alarm calls to alert family members or others of predators nearby. So they are very vocal, and if we're lucky, Kiki might play some
I will, but I
some
wanted to, yes.
Idris song here.
Yeah.
So
And it's not like Idris Elba, who is a DJ. It's just,
yeah, not Idris.
Idris, yes.
Yes. So the thing about these songs are not just that there's a singing lemur, because I guess we knew that already. I didn't know that. I learned that this week. But we, the proverbial we, knew that. No, it's the way that they sing. So they have isochrony.
That is. What? They are at a party. I think I've heard this at New Year's. 4th of July tomorrow. We're going to hear this. Ooh. Ooh. It's like, woo, woo. They've got a whoopee cushion. Or like, it's a balloon. Okay, so how are these sung and not just calls?
You don't want to listen to this all night?
The whole thing? I don't know. I'm ready to keep going. This is long.
So
2 minutes of woo, woo, woo.
So they have isochrony in their communication, which is when the time between sounds or notes are equal, which create a steady occurrence of events at regular intervals. So there is a consistent rhythm or beat, much like music. Based on that, listen, I'm a musician and I listen to music a lot. Okay. Yes. I feel like I have like a musical kind of intuition in some ways. I'm kind of with you, Kiki. I don't hear it, but you know, the computers tell us, like, they run this through the computer. They do all sorts of data analysis. They boil this down to a bunch of ones and zeros, and they are able to tell us that there are intervals.
Wow.
So I'm going to believe them.
There did seem, as we were, like, it did seem like they were, if not on a time, there were certain durations, and there seemed to be like a single syllable duration, and then there were longer ones that seemed to be a multiple of that original sound. So I can see that some of the sounds,
like there's like a pattern.
There's a pattern, but it sounded more
they
like
isolated notes and intervals between notes in 820 songs from 51 lemurs over about 15 years. They calculated the rhythmic ratios for each pair of consecutive intervals.
Okay.
And they found this consistent interval signature that apparently music has. And they tested both the songs and the alarm calls. They found that it is a fundamental aspect of their communication. So they're saying in both alarm calls and songs, they have this very particular kind of communication. This discovery means, according to the researchers, that they are the animals with the highest number of vocal rhythms shared with the human musical repertoire, and it surpasses songbirds and other mammals.
No.
And this is why I brought this story.
That is
because I gotta tell you.
No.
I'm with Kiki on this one. Sure, birdsong might sometimes sound like improvisational jazz, but that's still music.
I mean, you can whistle a bird song. This is like, I mean, I am having issues calling it
tonality or the like the tune or how pretty it is. It's all about this like this math.
How did they
It's all
determine
about
what is a song versus a call? Like all of this sounds like calls. I mean, it's like, ooh, woo, woo. I mean, I've heard birds do that. Come on, I've heard people at street corners do that.
So I'm gonna make you even madder and say the
No
findings
more.
like the evolutionary roots of musical rhythm, demonstrating that the foundational elements of human music can be traced back to early primate communication systems.
No.
Yeah, I agree. No. No.
No.
Like if we're calling this like music, and we're also saying that this is like the foundation of music in primate communication, like why isn't this just convergent evolution?
Right.
Why? Like I understand that lemurs are very closely related to a transitional mammal between like non-primate mammals and primate mammals. Like they're very early, they have characteristics of early primates, I will say. I'm not going to say like they're anyway. So people like to look at lemurs and go like, "Oh, that's what early primates were." But that's not true because they've had the same amount of time to evolve as everybody else. So we don't know if early primates talked like this and
we don't
quote unquote sang like this, or especially because this is just one species of lemur. Like if all the lemurs did this, then maybe I'd believe you.
Yeah, it's kind of like an outgroup, right? So you have all these different species of lemurs. You have this one species that does this, and they hang out by themselves because they're like, oh, we talk to each other very loudly, and nobody else likes to be around us because we're like air horns, primate air horns.
So yeah, I don't know. I think,
but gibbons don't like. What is it?
Interesting if true, but I'm not convinced.
Yeah. What about isn't it like gibbons, white-faced gibbons? There's like, you go to the zoo and there's the primates that are like, oh, like doing sounds almost like this.
Yeah.
Why aren't those songs?
Great question.
Yeah, I'm having issues with their classification. I need to read this study more and find out why.
It's the math. As far as I can tell, it's because they turned these sounds into math, and they were like, this math, music. This math, not music. And that bothers me.
Well, I mean, as we know, math is music. I mean, music is math.
That is true.
I mean,
yeah.
Math describes everything in our world, Blair.
Well, I don't know about that.
Or can be used to, maybe. I don't know.
So can colors. So can finger paints or
math.
cooking.
Math can color. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to take us away from lemurs to our brains.
Yes.
We're going to move away from the animal world. I'm glad you brought the ant story because I was looking at that one and I was like, oh man. Chopping off ant legs. I didn't do it. Yes. No. Nobody I know.
Oh,
did
the
it.
ants
It
did
was
it
the
to
ants
themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right.
Oh, it's a hair, not a spider. Okay. I thought there was a spider on my camera. That happens occasionally. There are ants living in my laptop now. I need to get, maybe I should submerge it in water or sit in a puddle. No, I don't know. Go outside and sit in the sun. Maybe they will leave the laptop. Anyway, our brains. We have brain injury sometimes. Life causes brain injury. Living causes brain injury, but sometimes you have ischemic stroke, which is lack of oxygen because of a blockage of blood flow. And when you have damage in the brain, that usually means that neurons are killed or pruned further than the way they would like to be for their normal plasticity. And how do they come back? How do our brains heal themselves? Oh my gosh. It happens though. And we know that in mice and in rats, there are cells in the hippocampus and other areas in the brain there's neurogenesis, new cells that are born. You're not just born with all the cells you're ever going to have in your brain. you have new neurons that can actually migrate to places in the brain to help fix damage. And this is very exciting because it helps us live nice long lives. We haven't really proven it beyond a shadow of a doubt in humans because it's very hard to cut open people's heads before they're dead, and look into this kind of stuff, right? It's hard to do. And so that evidence is still not as full as we'd like, but new research in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences has looked once again, in this model of the brain in the mouse for an area of the brain that we also have, and it's called the choroid plexus. The choroid plexus is a grouping of tissue and capillaries, bunch of cells that are together in the fluid-filled areas of the brain. So right around the base of the brain, you have areas that create the cerebral spinal fluid. That's the choroid plexus. The choroid plexus creates cerebral spinal fluid. And in this study, they basically destroyed the choroid plexus and were able to show that when there was no choroid plexus, there also was no neurogenesis. There was no movement of new cells to other parts of the brain in the mouse. And so there were, in both young and old brains, that when you get rid of the choroid plexus and reduce cerebral spinal fluid volume, that you then reduce neuroblasts or these new cells, and you don't get the same kind of damage protection as you do. So you need cerebrospinal fluid to bathe your brain and not just keep moving all the metabolites and the icky stuff around and doing the kind of the lymph garbage removal from the brain. The cerebrospinal fluid, which is when you get a spinal tap, right? That's what they're tapping into to see how healthy the stuff around your brain is. And why you get a headache when you remove that spinal fluid is because it reduces the volume of fluid around your brain. But that volume contains the stuff that helps move new cells, baby brain cells, from the baby brain cell nursery in your brain to the places that need to be repaired.
So can I expand my baby brain cell nursery?
Yeah, right. Make sure that you are drinking lots of water and that you have
that old
thing.
chestnut.
Don't get too dehydrated, right? Yeah. The cerebrospinal fluid and the choroid plexus. The choroid plexus is at this really interesting place in these vestibules in your brain, right? These fluid-filled cavities, and it's there like at the edge of the blood-brain barrier and the capillary space, and it basically is creating this fluid to bathe your brain in, keep your brain happy and healthy, and bring little baby brain cells to the places that need it. Moving on from the choroid plexus, this overlooked poor little organ of tissue in the brain, let's talk about lying. How often do you accuse people of lying, Blair?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. In my head or out loud? Because in my head, probably several times a day. Right? Out loud, maybe every other day.
How often do you lie?
Probably every day.
It's little baby lies, right? Little white lies, little things that people don't need to know all this information. Lies of omission, lies of exaggeration.
Do you like my new shirt? Yeah, it's adorable. Just
I love your yeah. Oh my goodness, right? The lying. Oh, the lying, the cheating. It's one thing for all of us to know that pretty much everybody does lie. Usually mostly about the little things, right? Everybody lies to some degree or another. There's the completely honest, 100% of the time, always person is very rare. But accusing people of lying is a completely different ball of wax. Can of worms. Yes. I'm always
worms of wax.
Yes. I'm always mixing my idioms with a paint stirrer. Anyway, the social harm to accusing somebody of lying is very potentially great, right? So when you accuse somebody of lying, what you're doing is opening yourself up to being wrong, to besmirching their, how everybody sees them. Also potentially having it come back on you in a negative way. So people very rarely accuse other people of lying unless they know and there's going to be a benefit to them or to somebody else that is very palpable, right? But what about when you have a lie detector? How much more often do you accuse people of lying if you have a lie detector? What if that lie detector is an algorithm? What if it's not, like the electrostatic or EEG based lie detectors that they've done for so long? Or what if there is a lie detection computer algorithm? We could call it natural learning, large language model, or an informational model. AI, even. No, that's taking it a step too far. Anyway, researchers decided to look to see how much more likely individuals were to use a lie detection algorithm, and then also to request to use one, and then to depend on it. And so the results of this study suggest that there are certain people who are kind of more likely to request or to think about using a lie detection algorithm. And people that do that are more likely to depend on its answers. So once you're kind of going down the route of not just using your own determination, you're more likely to depend on whatever it is that that algorithm says is true or false. And so even though somebody is not lying, and maybe somebody wouldn't judge them as lying without an algorithm, when they have an algorithm and they've decided to use it, they are more likely to accuse somebody of
The
lying.
algorithm, is it just using the content of the lie, or is it using like cues from the person giving the lie?
In this particular case, the algorithm is using the content the content of the material.
Right.
So
Like you're typing the lie into a text box, basically.
yes, yeah. So they had authors and
Mhm.
judges in this study, and the authors wrote equal numbers of true and false statements. And then judges had to determine whether or not those statements that were typed in were actually true or false. There was an algorithm that could be chosen. And when the AI was requested, and people seem to, at about 25% of the time, or 25% of people were likely to use an algorithm to judge. But then when they did, they were much more likely to trust the algorithm, especially when it said somebody was lying.
Yeah,
More
this is no
so.
good. This no. Mm-mm.
You're
Nope.
like, no. So
Bad. Bad for
yeah.
society. Bad.
I mean, maybe the algorithms will become more nuanced with time.
But even if the algorithm was perfect, bad for society. Bad.
Why?
Lying is part of a healthy society.
But thieves are liars.
Fine.
Criminals are liars.
That is unfortunately a hazard of having a socially constructed system. You need to have some lies. There has to be lies. A perfectly
think so.
truthful society would crumble.
I think that's a really interesting point. I mean, that's coming also just from like a basic animal behavior, like, game theory kind of model, for evolution, for the strength and resilience of a society, of any kind of population. There has to be some, we know just from color markings or, calls, songs, I'm advertising being stronger than I really am. When women wear makeup, they're lying about, how sunken their cheeks are or how
No,
prominent
it's
their
war paint,
cheekbones are.
Kiki. It's war paint.
Okay, okay. Yes, my lips are naturally this red. No.
It's
Yeah.
also just like the niceties, but it's also like, oops, I accidentally ate Sharon's slice of birthday cake. Sharon already doesn't like me very much. Sharon goes, "Did you eat my cake?" And I say,
No. Oopsies.
that is an important lie
Sharon, are you listening
the
to this
peace
show right now?
of the
Blair
office.
ate your birthday cake. This is twice now that birthday
This,
cake has
this is
come
the
up
second
in
time
the show.
birthday cake. Man,
This,
I must really want birthday cake.
this is like, I mean, seriously, today it's like birthday cake example night.
This is, wow. My subconscious.
I think you need like,
Anyway,
yeah, you need
lies
like
are
a
important. That's all I'm
cup
saying.
of microwave birthday cake, mug
Mhm.
cake. That would be great.
Yum.
Yummy.
Yes, lies are important. That's all I'm saying. Lies are part of social construct. You need to have them. I'm sorry.
And you need people to be able to trust themselves and trust their
Yes.
ability to trust other people. And the idea that we have to use an algorithm, like, you know, the pattern detection you were talking about for the lemur songs. Great algorithm, math, trying to figure that out, right? Fantastic. But that we need an algorithm to tell us somebody's lying or not. Just what do you think?
Have you ever asked someone a question hoping they would lie to you so that you could believe the lie?
No, I think that is, I'm just not even going to go there right now. I think that's so
You
much in our
definitely have.
society.
We all
Yes.
have. We all have.
Please just tell me it's going to be this way, that it's not going to
Right.
be 100 degrees this
Please
weekend.
tell me you're not
Please tell
mad that I XYZ. You're not mad? Great.
Mm,
I know they're
awesome.
mad,
They're really mad.
but they know that I hope they're not mad.
And maybe if they're not mad at me or they say they're not mad at me, I won't be as mad at myself.
Yes. Yes.
I don't need an
That's all I'm
algorithm for
saying.
that.
Yikes.
We're going to give you boyfriend-girlfriend algorithm. This is your relationship algorithm. Do you think that your partner is lying to you? Algorithm says, why?
Yikes.
Oh my gosh. The extremes this could go to. Okay, and Blair, because I love you so, so much, my last story tonight is robot faces.
Oh no.
I swear. This
Trying
one
to give
came.
me nightmares in my limited sleep.
Oh.
Let's hear it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. We are in. It is almost 4th of July here. I'm hearing people setting off their fireworks. You're early, everybody. 2-3 hours early. Okay. Robot faces. How do we make robot faces? You want to make realistic robot faces? This is trying to get there. It is really not there yet. And I'm wondering how long these faces are going to be this creepy.
Oh no. Is that a slice of bologna?
It's not a slice of bologna. It's fake skin.
Okay. Oh no.
It's a fake
Nope, send
skin.
it back. No,
Fake
thank you.
skin
Kiki. Nope.
with eyeballs.
Nope. Send it back. Nope.
So, to date, researchers have come up with a bunch of different ways to try and put fake skin, even better than the real thing. Oh no, it's not. On onto robots, and it's never, ever, ever gone well. It doesn't attach well. It doesn't move right. You know, how do you do all this stuff underneath to make a face move like a face and actually give expressions? And this is what researchers are trying to do. Okay. And so this work in iScience is open access, so everybody can find this nightmare juice. Yes, Kestrel Monash, we've invented the Nightmare Valley. We are out of Uncanny Valley. This is just straight to nightmares. I mean, I hope somebody does a Black Mirror or a horror movie based on this. Anyway, the researchers are working on what they call perforation-type anchors that have been inspired by actual ligaments within human skin in order to create robotic face covered with living skin. So the idea is that this is biological skin equivalent. They call it dermis equivalent. And they have created these ligament-like anchors on this skin dermis equivalent that are supposed to move more like normal muscle movement. So anyway, the researchers, they're like, hey, look, muscles and the skin, they're attached together because of these ligaments. There's muscles and ligaments, and those attached to the skin and the fat. And look, ligaments, it's awesome. So let's make ligaments for this fake skin. Ugh. And so they created these anchors, these ligament type anchors, and then tested them to see how they worked and how the skin moved. And in this situation, they were able to make their fake skin and everything moved really great. And I have a couple of videos for you if you'd like to see. You won't be able to see it in the podcast, but for those of you who want to actually watch these videos, of course, we will have the links available to you. So their first test was just of
Send your children to
tensile.
bed. If they're not in bed yet, send them to bed. Turn their eyes away. All right, let me see it.
So the first test was just tensile strength. They're like, how much can our fake skin and these ligaments stretch? And so basically they were just like pulling fake face off of fake bone. I don't know, just seeing how far the ligament could stretch. Like, nerp, it's like just funny. It's nothing yet. This is not the big deal. And then the researchers were like, oh, okay, awesome. Let's move on. And we're going to make our fake face jello. And the fake face jello is going to be so amazing. And you're going to see smiley face. So they made their ligament, their little motorized actuators that pull on what would be muscles that would attach to the ligaments that would attach to the face where you would think the smile ligaments would work. And so you can see that the baloney goes from frowning to smiling and gets little cheek dimples in the smile.
Looks bad. Gotta say, looks bad.
It doesn't look great, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm never gonna look at baloney the same. That is for sure.
Guys, bad job. Bad.
But the whole thing I find just fascinating because it's this insistence on creating more and more human-like robotic facsimiles of human, right? It's like, how much closer can we get? It's okay, robots someday will maybe hold our consciousness, right? Maybe one robot will hold 3 consciousnesses. I don't know. Maybe there'll be a whole society inside of one robot. We'll also have robots that we currently have them that are companions, but those robots are going to become more and more lifelike and more integrated into our daily life. And in order to do that, they have to be able to smile. They have to have more lifelike facial contortions. And in doing that, just like these researchers have come up with their baloney face. Yeah. You don't like baloney face?
No. No, thank you. Send it back.
I can't just the smiling baloney face is just, I mean, it is, and it's all like glossy. It's like a shiny pink baloney because they've
Well, it
like
also
this
misshapes
fake
during the 3 times that it does it. It doesn't quite come back to the shape that it started. It's not a circle anymore. Like,
Oh yeah,
send it
you're
back.
right.
It's
Oh,
not
now,
done.
yeah. Now I'm looking at like all the goopiness around the entire dermis-like or
Mhm.
dermis equivalent bologna slice. Oh, it's nightmare fuel. Good night, everyone.
It's not
Sweet
good.
dreams.
All right. And on that note, have we done a show?
Everyone will eat bologna in the future. Oh no. No, we won't. We've done a show. Have we done it?
We've done
We've
it.
done it. Yours, I know. You want birthday cake and
No.
It's like the shininess of it is like somebody took, like the like egg white
Ugh.
shiny glaze, it's like a nice and shiny, glistening.
It reminded me more of those face masks that you get that have the snail slime in them.
But that's it entirely. There's like nothing else. It's a flat face
Yeah.
and your eyeballs are
Yeah.
poking out and then it's
Uh-huh.
slimy and then it's a horror movie. Yes, it is. Okay. All right, everybody. We have done this. May your baloney be ever shiny. I hope you enjoyed listening to this show. We enjoyed talking about all the science that we were able to fit into this program. Thank you for joining us. Fada, thank you so much for your help with show notes and social media. Identity4, thank you for recording the show. Arnlore, Gord, others who are part of keeping the chat rooms happy, thank you so much for doing that. And everybody in the chat rooms, thank you. See you over in Discord with Thomas the Train and I don't know, battle ants. There's all sorts of stuff going over in our Discord. And in YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, thank you all for being there and conversing, having all the conversations. We do appreciate it. Rachel, thank you so much for editing the show. And of course, I have to say thank you to our Patreon sponsors. Dun, dun, dun. Oops, I'm at the bottom of the list. Let's go to the top of the list. Thank you to Eden Mundell. Woo woo! Alan Viola, Aaron Anathema, Craig Potts, Mary Gertz, Teresa Smith, Richard Badge, Bob Coles, Kent Northcote, George Goris, Pierre Velazarb, John Ratnaswamy, Chris Wozniak, Vagard Chefstad, Donathan Styles, aka Don Stylo, Ali Coffin, Reagan Shubru, Sarah Forfar, Don Mundus, PIG, Stephen Alberon, Daryl Myshak, Andrew Swanson, Fredos 104, Sky Luke, Paul Ronovich, Kevin Reardon, Noodles, Jack, Brian Carrington, David E. Youngblood, Sean Clarence Lamb, John McKee, Greg Riley, Mark Hessenflow, Steve Leisman, Ken Hayes, Howard Tan, Christopher Rappin, Richard, Brendan Minish, Johnny Gridley, Remy Day, G. Wharton Lattimore, Flying Out, Christopher Dreyer, Greg Briggs, Glad you survived that hurricane. John Atwood, Rudy Garcia, Dave Wilkinson, Rodney Lewis, Paul, Philip Shane, Kurt Larson, Craig Landon, Sue Doster, Jason Olds, Dave Neighbor, Eric Knapp, Lon Makes, EO, Adam Mishkan, Aaron Luthen, Bob Calder, Marjorie, Paul D. Disney, David Simmerly, Patrick Perecoraro, and Tony Steele. Woo woo! Thank you all for your support on Patreon. And if you are interested in supporting us on Patreon, please head over to twis.org and click on that Patreon link, $10 and more, and I will try to stumble over your name in this list too. On next week's show, Blair, I think you're going to have to be Justin.
Mm-hmm. We will be back at 8 p.m. Pacific time, broadcasting live from our Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook channels.
And why don't you just keep going? No. Yes, keep going.
Yeah. Want to listen to us as a podcast? Just search for This Week in Science wherever podcasts are found. If you enjoyed the show, get your friends to subscribe as well.
Yes.
For more information on anything you heard here today, show notes and links to our stories will be available on our website. That's at www.twis.org. You can also sign up for our newsletter there. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address or a suggestion for an interview, please let us know in one of our social media accounts, those things, or send us an email. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, in the subject line, or your email will be carried on the back of an ant into a passing vehicle, and it will drive to another state and will never read your email.
Especially
look
if it's
forward
being
to
read out
discussing-
loud. As I say, especially if it's being read out loud by a baloney face.
Yes, exactly. We look forward to discussing science with you again next week. And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
It's all in your head. There's the outro.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your views.
May not represent your views. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. It's the after show. Blair's got to go take out some contacts. Is it exploding? Is it blowing up where you are, Blair?
not yet.
No. I'm hearing big bada booms here. Boom,
Mm,
boom.
But I do have a feeling
boom.
it's going to wake up my sleeping baby, so I probably should go.
Yeah, I'm
Gonna
hearing
be
it
a
like
fun
crazy.
night tonight and,
And
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Especially
Tomorrow will be
because my
fun.
dog also hates fireworks and she will bark and then wake up my child, even if my child didn't wake up. It's gonna be great.
It's like
I gotta
dominoes.
go.
Parental dominoes. Oh my goodness. The goop from spam can free it. Oh my goodness. That's just that stuff's gross
Yeah.
too. Everybody, thank you so much, Blair. Thank you for a good show.
Of course, thank you. It was very fun.
I hope
and
you
will
have-
see you next Wednesday.
Yeah. I hope you have good 4th of Julying. Do you have
You
big
too.
plans?
I just go to a friend's house.
Cool.
gonna be
Did you
good.
get a haircut?
Be home. I did.
It looks super cute. I
Thanks.
like it. I'm gonna get a haircut, I think.
You should.
I haven't been to get my haircut in like 3 years. So
Yeah, I think I cut like 6 or 7 inches off. So anyway, all right. Oh yeah.
I mean, I could just do it right now.
Oh
Probably
yeah.
wouldn't work very well though.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do any of the TikTok trends for cutting your own hair.
No. No. That would be a disaster. I need to go to somebody who's a professional
Mhm.
and knows how to use scissors as opposed to, me.
Mhm.
They still give me the protection. The kids don't cut yourself scissors. Mm. Big salad. I hope everyone stays cool. I know it's like a big heat dome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other reason I gotta get out of this room. It's so hot.
Mhm. Yeah, it's supposed to really start heating up here tomorrow. So just in time for the weekend. I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. Maybe there's a pool that I can crash somewhere. We do have lots of riverfront as well. So maybe I'll find a little river kayaking spot. We'll see. No need to cut. Thank you. It is at the point though. I'm at the point now where when I'm sleeping, it gets caught underneath me and then I can't roll over. So
Mhm.
we have
Yep.
really hit the haircut time. You know it's
It's gonna be
time
great.
when it
Very
makes it hard for you to sleep.
Yes. Okay. All my special internet
The
friends.
Acolyte. I haven't watched The Acolyte yet. Have you, Blair? What is that?
I have. It's medium.
Medium. Okay. I'll check it out. I haven't checked it out yet.
Okay. All right. Off I
Yeah.
go.
Go off.
Good night, everybody.
Go off with yourself. Everybody have a great night. Thank you so much again for joining us. Sorry we missed last week, but I'm glad that we were back again. I hope everyone was able to have a good week off. I know we were. So I will. And Blair, you'll be back next week?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. No late night workings. Do you have anything this month that we should
I
worry
don't-
about? You
I'll
don't
look.
know.
I don't think so.
My ligaments.
Oh,
I'm gonna think about my
no, thank you.
ligaments.
Put your baloney
How
face
many-
away. No, no, no.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Everyone count baloney faces to go to sleep. We will talk to you next week. We hope that you stay well. Do not be unsafe with any fireworks this next week if you are in the United States or anywhere, really. I hope that everybody stays with all their fingers, that there's no big fires or other accidents. Don't burn down any palapas. And if you have birthday cakes, send it to Blair. And stay curious and stay lucky. We'll see you next week.